Oh, my ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. That's 12424. Mostly Willie Mays number. But welcome to Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger. This is episode number 139. I've got Pop Detective Records. And of course, I'm here in the warming up South Jersey. But over on the much warmer West Coast, Southern California to be exact, my good friend Mr. David Bash, the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, and he of the swirly shirt tonight. This looks like a 1978 lollipop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, brand new shirt. Probably not that much warmer out here. It's still kind of cool. We had a really cold winter last year, and it's starting off. It's starting out more or less like that, but it's supposed to be really, really warm by the weekend. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, nice. Right.
But beyond that, yeah. So let's see. What do we got? Well, we'll do a little watch check here. In accord with the swirly shirt, I've got my swirly Knopf NY 405.
Nice.
Which I think I introduced a few weeks ago when I got it. I really love this watch. I love the design. It's an homage to a building in New York. I'm trying to remember exactly which one, but it works well with the swirls. So there you have that.
I'd love to see your decision-making process in the morning when you pull out your case of watches and say, what shirt am I wearing? Which watch goes with it?
Yeah, usually I decide on the shirt before the watch. So
we need to film a Material Issues episode.
That's the other way around, also. No, but that
you're watching for your watch. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but that would necessitate me without a shirt, and nobody wants to see that. So
in 3D.
Nah, that's okay.
3D or two nipples. Yeah.
So very quickly, and I'm sure this will absolutely enthrall our guests. Quick baseball Hall of Fame talk here.
Here we go.
Yeah. Not again. I could talk about this for. Hey, Tim. Good to see you. I could talk about this forever, and I know you could as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, 3 people went in. Beltre was a no-brainer. I don't think anybody thought he wouldn't be first ballot and with a very high percentage of the vote, and he was. Todd Helton, it took him many years. The Coors effect, which is somewhat legit, did hurt his case a bit. His OPS on the road of 855 for a first baseman is not Hall of Fame worthy by any stretch.
Right.
So it was very clear that his stats were grossly inflated by Coors.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened in the past with guys who played at, let's say, Wrigley Field or Fenway.
Right.
But unlike them, Coors Field has a very unique feature in that it's a mile high off the ground, which is what makes the air so thin, which keeps curveballs from breaking well, which keeps fastballs from moving well.
Yep.
And those factors, along with the air itself, definitely make it easier to hit a ball really well.
Mm-hmm.
But when people leave that environment, when players leave to play on the road, it's a very difficult adjustment for them. And it does hurt their road stats more than it should. And some evidence of that is when players are traded to other teams, they do better on the road than they did when they were playing at Coors.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, I got to say that Helton deserved to go in.
Okay.
Plus, he's the face of the franchise. And the Hall of Fame, after all, is supposed to be about famous players as well. And he is the most famous Colorado Rocky. Joe Mauer, well, 3 batting titles at catcher. I know he did play a lot of his career at first as well. But 3 batting titles at catcher. Again, another hometown boy makes great in his case.
Sure. Yeah.
I have no problem with Mauer going in. I am a bit surprised that he got as much support in his first year as he did. But again, he's somebody that's extremely well loved by the media. So
Well, and the voting personality changes with the years too.
Oh, yeah.
The people who used to vote in the days going by who no longer are with us or whatnot, and the younger, they vote for who they know, and
that's what ultimately will probably get the steroids guys in when the older writers are replaced with the younger who don't remember the impact of steroids and how reviled the players were who took them, or just don't care.
Yeah, personally, I think they should have been checking for Viagra, but they don't.
Which is funny because Palmero, who wagged his finger saying, I have never used steroids, did say he used Viagra. Maybe that's what helped him hit better. It made his wood bet harder.
He had harder wood.
Yeah, so you see.
But I'm only here at Material Issues, ladies and gentlemen. Do you hear about harder wood?
Speaking of steroids, and I'll leave it at this, Gary Sheffield never failed a test, did admit to using the cream. Mm-hmm. We won't go there, which is what Barry Bonds said he used, but did not, but also said he had no idea what he was using. Whether or not that's true, we don't know. It probably isn't true because most players do know what they're putting on or in their bodies.
Yeah.
But I really feel bad. I kind of feel badly for the guy. And now that he had his 10th year on the ballot and didn't get in, the Veterans Committee will never vote for him.
No.
Because they are much more hardline than the writers, and players in the Hall of Fame want to keep the image of the Hall of Fame pure, and they make up a great deal of the Veterans Committees.
Yeah.
So they're not going to let any steroids, guys. If you don't get in with the writers, you might as well forget it. No matter how much that body changes, it's always going to have Hall of Fame players on it, and they will not let those guys in if they have anything to say about it. Yep. And they do. So anyway, I feel for him. Billy Wagner missed by 4 votes. Yep. Next year is his 10th. He's a lock for next year.
Right.
So I don't think we have to worry about that. Anyway, that's my very, very brief take. I see only one of our 2 guests are here, but we'll just bring him on.
Yeah, we'll bring him on one sec. I want to talk about, like, in a future episode when it's just the 2 of us doing our trivia thing and whatnot. I do have Doritos grilled shrimp in from China. Grilled shrimp Doritos. We're going to have to try those live on air.
I will not be trying those, but
I do have garlic baguette sun chips.
Keep it away. I'm like Dracula. Keep the garlic away from
and David's all-time favorite Pringles Philly cheesesteak.
Oh.
Hey, listen, real quick. I was telling you earlier before we came on air, last night was the Haddonfield girls senior night, and I do the announcing for the Haddonfield girls and boys basketball. Last night, I haven't done it in about 8 years, maybe 10 years, but because I like a lot of the senior girls this year, really nice crew, I sang the national anthem, and someone did pick up a final clip. And right as the penultimate high note at the end comes on, the mic and amplifier cut out. So you'll see the crowd join me to finish up this clip. Here's a little 12-second clip of my national anthem performance. There you go. That's my national anthem.
Not that I know from experience, but I've heard from enough people. That is a tough song to sing.
You have to start low because you end up really high. Yeah.
You need one hell of a range to hit those notes. If you do it legitimately. So
thank you, Mr. Borak.
Yeah, you could actually. I mean, we could hear you the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, well, the guy was right there, and I do have a voice that really projects. So even when the mic shut and the amplifier blew, you could still hear me. And then of course everybody joined in which was fun.
Yeah,
It
it
was,
was.
it was a lot of fun. I
I
do
see.
it once every 7 or 8 years.
I see only one of our two guests is here right now. Should we bring him on and wait
Sure,
for him?
let's start talking, and if the other guest shows up, we'll bring him right in. Our guest might have more information as to why the other one's not here, so we'll see.
All right. Well, one of my favorite bands of all time is the Korgis. But here's the funny thing. I was first introduced to them. That's redundant, first introduced. You can only be introduced once.
Right.
I was introduced to them by a DJ friend of mine in 1979 who played me songs from their debut album.
Yeah.
And he said they were called the Korgis, soft G. And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. He said, no, I'm sure of it. And I had been calling them, because of him, I had been calling them the Korgis up until about a year ago, when I heard another interview with our two guests where they pronounced it with a hard G. And I said, oh, man, how am I going to get over this? I've been calling them the Korgis forever. And now
you still do, actually, by the way. You keep
and
slipping.
I still do. So for the purpose of this show, I got to get over it.
I've heard people call them the Korgis because they have no idea.
Actually, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
People who have no idea, I guess people who have no idea about the car or the dog.
Yeah.
Looks like our guest has walked away. I don't think he wants to be on the show anymore. Anyway, I became a huge fan very, very quickly. The band initially being made up of, at its core, Andy Davis and one of our guests today, James Warren. Here's the debut album on CD.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool mix of new wave and Lennon-esque pop. Very cheeky lyrically as well. And I had no idea of Stackridge at this point, so I didn't know about these gentlemen's history. So the cheekiness surprised me quite a bit. And I'm not much of a lyrics person, but when the lyrics are cheeky and juvenile, they get through to my very, very cheeky and juvenile disposition. Anyway, so there was this. And then the second album coming out a year later called Dumb Waiters, moving from Warner Brothers over to Asylum. And this album just absolutely floored me. And this is the album which has their one huge US hit, Everybody's Gotta Learn Sometime.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's one of those songs that people remember but don't necessarily know who did. When you're a one-hit wonder, that happens too often, I guess. But this album is absolutely gorgeous. And they kind of moved a bit from a new wavy sound to more. It's kind of a slicker production. There's some almost disco-y songs on here, along with James Warren's signature Lennon-esque style, ballad style. And then a year later, and this did not come out in the U.S., their third album, Sticky George, which I don't even want to know what that means. Andy Davis had left the band at this point, so it was really James and his supporting cast. Another beautiful album, much more on the ballad side than anything else, but there are some amazing ballads on here, including All the Love in the World, which was a hit in the UK.
Yeah, great song.
Then they called it a day for a bit, but came back in the 90s when our other guest joined the band, and they've released on and off a few albums over the years, and they're still going strong.
Yeah.
They got 2 new albums coming out this year, and do you have one of them to show us right now?
Yeah, the one that
just came out. United Nations Blue, which
Ununited Nations,
I guess. We'll let our guest clear. I mean, look, if I can't pronounce Korgis right, are you going to expect me to pronounce this correctly?
I think it's
anyway, so that just came out a few days ago, and I think CDs will be shipped out to those who pre-ordered them. I was one of those. So I have the files, and we'll hear a few songs from it later in the year. The UN or Ununited Nations Red will be coming out, and there's that. That should be coming out around June, I guess. So, like the Beatles, who they are huge fans of, they have a red and a blue album. Only they release them in opposite order. Anyway, I'm babbling here because I still don't see our second guest, but or our other guest, but we will bring on the one who is here. Like I said, he's been a member of the band since the 90s, and his contributions are extremely noteworthy, and we're very glad to have him. So without further ado, would you please give a huge welcome to Mr. Al Steele?
There he is.
Well, hello.
Yeah.
How are you? Just to let you know, James is there. He's in the waiting room, but he hasn't been admitted, apparently.
We don't see him. I don't think he's... No, see, he needs to sign on, and then we admit him.
Okay, I think he has. I did say he needed to enter the studio.
Yeah, we haven't seen him enter the studio yet, so...
Yeah, maybe... did he need to write his name or something like that, maybe?
Well, he could do that.
He had to look up how to spell it. You know, it's a whole...
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's not quite sure.
He does not
quite sure about that.
Whatever he does have to click on the button that says Enter Studio. So he may not have done that yet. He may think he's in, but he's not.
Well, I've got some people working on it, so hopefully, put his name in, put his name in, put his thing in, and make sure you then click Enter. Because they can't see him at the moment. Yeah,
that's what she said.
These are all my assistants here, who are working on. Now, you were talking about the Korgis. We did a gig in Rome. We did a TV show in Rome, and that's what they call us out there, ladies and gentlemen. The Korgis, the Korgis. So you're not completely wrong, or you're certainly not alone.
I guess my DJ friend must have visited Rome at some point.
Maybe
spreading lies.
I'm just impressed that Al's got people in the background. He's got people working for him. I'm just here by myself.
I call them my staff, but they're actually my family.
I'm sure they love that, Al.
I call my dog my
staff. They do.
Oh God, that's all I got. Well, if our second guest, Mr. James Warren, shows up here, we'll pop him into the studio. But in the interim, let's talk a little bit about your history.
Sure.
With the Korgis, with the Korgis. I mean, you've been with them. You've been with them so long. It's it's hard to say. Here's one of the newer members.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. Well, when I did the dates in the 90s with them, it's because Andy and James had got back together to do the This World's for Everyone album, and I added the third member, John Baker. So they were a trio at that point. But Andy just decided he didn't want to do the promotional dates for it, and so I stepped in to do that, and we just kept in touch ever since. Not that the Korgis did much in the meantime. There was just an occasional single or resurgence, and it wasn't until James and I really got back together in about 2017 to work on his solo album. He was working on a solo album, but we were also writing some stuff together as a little side project. And the touring band came from that. It was really just to promote his solo album, but there was such interest, and also the band was so good. We just went, oh, gee, we've got to tour this. We've got to do more. And it quickly became apparent that we were going to get much more traction reverting back to the name the Korgis or the Korgis than we would with James Warren and Friends, which is what we'd initially tried.
Right.
So that's how it happened.
Mileage, yeah. Did Andy does not like to play live?
Yeah, I think, well, James would tell you himself, him and Andy have always had a very tempestuous relationship. He puts down Andy leaving in the first place during the second album down to too many harmony blocks. He got fed up of James putting down all of these harmony blocks, not more harmony blocks. And I think one day just said, that's it, I've had enough. I just can't take any more. And I think it might have been something similar with the This World's for Everyone. I mean, I chat to Andy often, and he said, do you know, I didn't think they promoted the dates enough. I didn't think enough people would come, so I didn't want to get involved. Didn't want to put all the time in. So, I mean, his loss was my gain, I've got to say, you know. But he's quite happy doing his own thing. And he still does a lot of gigs with various different outfits. So, you know, everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and we're all kind of happy to coexist. So,
did you have any involvement with Stackridge when they got
No,
back?
I never did, even though Stackridge reformed. And when I got back together working with James, he was still gigging with the reformed Stackridge. So 2017, I think, was the very last few gigs that they did. And so they were all still working together at that point. Yeah. But no, I've never been involved with Stackridge, but I've always been aware of it. But I imagine in the States that Stackridge wouldn't have done anything really. It was so eccentric and English, you know.
Right, that's a very good point. Their albums were released here, but I don't know that the only one that I think may have made a dent on the charts was what we call Pinafore Days, which is what the proper UK title was, A Man in the Bowler Hat, like me. Mm-hmm. But you know, that album was a little bit more accessible than the more prog poppy first albums.
Well, it was also produced by George Martin,
and it was produced by George Martin.
That would have given it much more traction. You could see a lot of people go, because I think it was the first album that George Martin produced from someone else that wasn't the Beatles after the Beatles split.
That could be, because America's Holiday, I think, came out a few months later. So that very well may be correct. But after that album, when James left, they became much quirkier again with, you know, albums like Mr. Mick. So, and I'm not even sure if those albums were released in the States, but the first, as far as I know, the first three were, but only Pinafore Days, as we called it, hadn't made any traction. Certainly nothing on the singles charts.
Well, it was interesting because it should have had some traction, because they got signed to Elton John after James left. After The Man in the Bowler Hat, they got signed to Rocket Records, and they even did a gig in Wembley with Elton John and the Eagles, them all on the same bill. But there was something about it; it just never seemed to really catch on with the mainstream public. You know, I think it was just too, people didn't know what to make. The mainstream didn't know what to make of it. No. Their diehard fans were like fanatical, and they still are. You know, they still are.
That's us.
Not that I got it. Not that I ever had a chance to see them, but as in retrospect, when I started buying records in the late '70s, early '80s, and I rediscovered them, I was absolutely floored, especially with Friendliness. Which is my favorite album of Stackridge's. And was my favorite proper album reissue of 2023, by the way.
Nice.
David, Cherry Red, our record company, one of our record companies anyway, Cherry Red, been re-releasing all of those, and finding a lot of extra tracks and stuff as well.
Yeah, which was wonderful. I see that that James is here, although he's frozen.
Oh.
Well, he actually is frozen. He passed away years ago. They did freeze him. He's right next to
you there. You might want to get closer to your router if you're hearing this.
We saw him for a little bit. James, if you're not too close to your router, get close to your router and kind of go back out and come on back in.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Go back out and go back in. He's obviously got the right link then, hasn't he? So
he's got it, and he was
got the right link.
There. He was there nicely for a second. He was actually waving like I'm here, but then he kind of froze there for a second. But
he was obviously very excited. There was a moment of extreme excitement for him at that point.
We've had that. Especially when we're dealing with guests from Scandinavia or all over the UK. It sometimes it's a lag in the way the timing and the internet is working on your end as opposed to our end too. But here's back. Let's get him up in the room, David.
Absolutely. Well, it's an honor for me to introduce this man. He's definitely been one of my favorite songwriters and singers for many, many years, ever since I was turned on to this album in 1979. And then retrospectively discovering Stackridge. And, since then, band is still going strong. and he is the driving force. So we're very happy to give a huge material issues welcome to Mr. James Warren.
Why,
And there
hello
he is.
there.
There he is.
I made it at last.
Yes, you're looking good. And
We were tired of listening to Al disparage you for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hopefully James shows up.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Warren.
And nice to meet you too. Yeah.
Very, very big fans of not only the Korgis, as we've been discussing, the Korgis and the Korgis and all kinds of different.
Korgis.
Yeah. And but Stackridge as well. We were just talking about Stackridge for a little bit with Al, but magnificent body of work, and absolutely chuffed, as they say, that you're here on the program tonight. Yeah,
thank
really
you.
wonderful.
You know, James, when we first became Facebook friends and you posted on my page, we would really love to play your festival. You have no idea what that meant to me. I hope it happens one day, but just the fact that you did that is something I'll never forget. So thank you, and of course thank you for all the music that you've given us. I was showing the three albums back in the day, and it was funny because I knew about the first two. They had been released in the States, and I bought them there.
Right.
I was wondering, as 1981 happened, I was wondering, will there be any more Korgis albums? And a friend of mine went to the UK, because back in the day, we didn't know anything about what was going on in the UK. There was no internet, and you couldn't go to your local record store and say, can you order this import? And they would do it. Right. That didn't happen. So my friend went to the UK. He came back, and he left 3 albums for me in my bedroom, and I'm looking at them, and the first 2, very cool. And then this one, and I must have let out the loudest scream that I'd ever let out, because I had no idea it existed. And so Jeff Harris, if you're listening, thank you very much for that. But I digress. We should talk about what you're doing now. And I first found out about that in fact, that you were back in the swing of things when I saw this on Facebook, Cartoon World, and immediately ordered the box set, may I say. So I've got that.
Good lad.
This was a really cool record and had so many nice goodies with it also. I haven't even I want to preserve them, so I haven't taken out the posters or anything like that. And then there's the new record, UN Blue or something like that. UN United Nations Blue.
United Nations.
United.
All right, thank you for that. Let's play a song from it if that's okay.
Good idea.
First, let me find out where it is, because we're so professional here. All right, so here's one of the early tracks on the album that I really liked. It's called One Way Ticket, and here we are with the Korgis. How's the volume? Good? All right.
Good here.
Can't hear a thing.
She's booked a sleeping car. It's time to make up for all the joys and tears to see me travel this far. She's got a one-way ticket. The road that led us here was never easy. Though darkness fed the fear, one thing is perfectly clear. We got a one-way ticket. We knew we could change the world, like dominoes descending, but happy got a hazy plan, still needs refining for sure. He's got a one-way ticket. He sees the entourage on the landing. A sudden shot rings out where he was standing. There's blood. He's got a one-way ticket. In that one flash of fire, the world stopped turning. The white cross is burning. The screams don't die. They finally back together now. She's got a one-way ticket. Oh, the dream dies. One-way ticket. It's put steel in our eyes. One-way ticket. One-way ticket. One-way ticket. One-way ticket. It'll come one day. One way or another. She's got a one-way ticket to you.
I'll tell you, if radio was as it was, that would be a very big hit right now.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just so good. Now, can I ask quickly about the sound? I mean, people were commenting, what a great sound. The solo, is that a keyboard solo?
No, it's a guitar synth.
I thought it was a guitar synth going on there, and
Yeah.
I was wondering who the guitarist was that was playing this stuff.
And it was me. It was me. Yeah, I think I always intended to replace it with a sax. I kind of liked. You'll hear there's a little kind of Doobie Brothers, Michael McDonald influence in those piano lines. And I know on Michael McDonald's first solo album, he did a sax and guitar unison thing. I think was Robin Ford and might have been even Edgar Winter on it. And they played exactly in unison. I just loved the sound of that. So I thought, oh, why don't we try something like that, a guitar and sax in unison? And I thought, well, for the time being, I'll actually play it on guitar synth and pick up a sax preset. And everyone went, oh, I really love that sound. It sounds like Stevie Winwood. And so we just decided to keep it, you know. The great thing is, of course, I can bring the guitar synth along and play it live like that. So, you know, but it was just one of those things that kind of just worked, you know.
Is
You
it
know,
guitar,
James, with so many.
a guitar, or is that a different instrument?
No, it's just a regular guitar, but it's got a pickup that goes into a synth unit. So really, just the strings of the guitar just trigger a synth sound like a keyboard would. You know,
It's awesome. It's awesome. You know, James, a lot of the Korgis stuff, recorded material, you get some very different sounds. I mean, it's distinct. It's you know, the bass has a distinctive sound through a lot of your tracks. It's different. I mean, was that intentional? Was like, let's intentionally not be like everybody else and just tweak things a little bit and make it, because it really, you have a defining Korgi sound, you know, and a lot of it is just, it's just a little bit different.
That's interesting you say that, because maybe it's because we're sort of in the thick of things and doing it ourselves that we don't sort of, well, I'm not aware of the fact that we're kind of creating a different sort of unique sound of our own, but maybe we are. And no, I think we just love to sort of, you know, experiment with different ideas, different sounds, and then for a certain track we hit upon a certain sort of palette of sounds, and it just seems to work. Like with that last track we played, you know, the synth guitar thing just seemed to work, and the bass. I mean, Al plays a lot of bass lines on the albums, and I play a few as well. And you know, I play plectrum style bass, and Al plays finger style, so that creates different sounds as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you have it's a distinct. When I hear the Korgis, it's like, yeah, I mean, I can hear a deep track and say that's a Korgis track. I just,
oh wow, that's great.
I hear it. Yeah. Then of course you throw me completely off with orchestrations and
Well, there is that.
You do such a beautiful album, taking everything and just, you know, expanding it all. Absolutely breathtaking album. orchestrations.
Well, again, this man here, Al Steele, he can do everything. He plays guitar, keyboards, and does orchestrations.
Well,
so on the current
I do
material,
orchestrations, but actually it wasn't me that did the orchestrations for that album. It was a guy called Mickey Simmons.
the album called Orchestrations.
We just gave him vocal tracks and bits of guitar tracks here and there.
Yeah.
Whatever we thought would work. And I even said to him, I said, look, I've got scores for most of this. Do you want them? And he said, no, I just want to use my ears and just have a fresh approach at it, which I get that. So yeah, he did a great job on that album. Yeah. The actual, I think what James is referring to, the actual orchestrations on the Ununited Nations album, where we've got real orchestra on some tracks. I've done most of the arrangements for that. And it's probably me that's a driving force there going, yeah, should we put strings on that? Hey, we could put brass on that. We could put this on it. So I've got my people that come in and I just go, hey, play on this, play on that, so
you've got real instruments playing on Ununited.
Pretty much all real. Yeah, pretty much all real ones. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, sadly, you don't see that often these days either, and putting that kind of time and effort and real people playing. And that makes a big difference as well, I think. That's fantastic. Yeah.
And another thing that's always marked the Korgis music is cheeky lyrics. And like, as I was telling Al, I'm not much of a lyrics person unless they're very cheeky and clever, like 10cc or Sparks or you guys. I don't know why, but the whole thing of you thought I would not notice. You called me Phil, not Otis. I'll never forget that because I'm saying, well, hey, your name was James. It's not Phil or Otis. But there were a lot of cheeky lyrics throughout your career. Let's take us back, James, to when you were a kid and where you grew up and who were your musical influences and how you got involved in how Stackridge happened, for example.
Yeah. Okay. So I started off playing bass. I mean, I got into playing bass guitar. So I wanted to be in a band playing bass, really. I wasn't a songwriter as such at first. And so that's what I did. I lived in a city called Bristol, which is in the southwest of England, quite a big city. And so I started joining local bands there, just playing bass and doing a bit of backing vocals. But I was into a wide range of, quite different sorts of music. I mean, I loved Frank Zappa. And I loved a weird psychedelic folk band called the Incredible String Band. Mm-hmm. And I adored the Beatles and the Kinks. So a wide range of stuff, And eventually I got into the idea of maybe I could try and write a few songs myself as well. So I got into writing songs as well as playing bass, And then, Stackridge came along. Some local guys said, we're going to form a new band. Do you want to play bass? So I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. And that was Stackridge. And luckily, these guys, were into the same sort of different sounds as I was into, like Beatles, Frank Zappa, Incredible String Band. So the songs we came up with were a kind of weird mashup of all those different influences, And I still love all that kind of stuff now.
The first album was very much on the prog side of things. And then Friendliness comes in, and there's still a big prog influence, but a lot more pop going on also. Like anyone for Tennis Elbow and Amazingly Agnes and things like that.
Oh, Amazingly Agnes.
And then brilliant songs like Syracuse the Elephant with those melodies.
Yeah.
Everyone in that band could play really well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good band. Yeah.
Were you self-taught, James, as a youngster? Did you start picking things up, or did your parents say you're starting on piano for the first 8 years of your life, and then because it's very interesting. So many of our guests that we have on our show that we consider fantastic musicians and writers and creators are self-taught. They just decided they were going to figure this out, and they did.
Yeah, that was me. My dad was only into sport, and my mum wasn't sort of into music particularly. So it was just when I have two older sisters, and they started buying the singles of the time, which was like the Beatles, the Kinks, the Stones. And I thought, this is fantastic, And then for some reason, I really started to pick up on the bass lines of songs, especially Paul McCartney playing, sort of Paperback Writer and all those sort of like amazing bass sort of things. And so that got me into it. I found that I had a natural ear. I could pick up things just by listening to them, and I could just start to play them. But I mean, Al Steele here, I mean, he's also got a fantastic ear, but he can do all the writing as well, all the music notation. He's incredible, this lad.
But actually, I'm kind of self-taught on a lot of that. I actually I had piano lessons when I was a kid, but I hated them. Because they didn't all the music I was listening to was nothing to do with the piano lessons. It was just notes on a page. So we had my older brother play guitar, and we had guitars lying around the house. So while I was having these piano lessons I hated, I taught myself to play guitar, and I was listening to all the, I was listening to Hendrix and all of that sort of stuff at the end of the 60s. And I just, like James, I just taught myself by ear, just listening to the radio. And a lot of the time, James, you didn't even have cassette players or anything that you could record stuff and play them back again and again to learn it. A lot of the time you were listening to the radio and trying to learn the songs from the one play you heard on the radio.
Yeah, I know.
What's that?
Amazing thought, isn't it? Yeah.
Al, was there a particular song that inspired you more than any other to learn?
For me, when I was young, it was always, I mean, it's the same with James, it was always the Beatles. I knew so many songs of the Beatles. I don't even know how I knew some of those songs, because I remember me and my two brothers, we were all playing music together. And we had that big Beatles book. Everyone had this big Beatles book. It's the same book. I think it had a candle on the front or something like that. And they used to turn over and we try and play something. I remember they came to Run for Your Life. And they went, "Oh, we don't know that." So I went, "Turn it over." And I went, "I know it." And they went, "No, you don't." And I sung it to them. And they went, "No, you're making it up." Well, I wish I was making up a song as good as the Beatles. But no, for some reason, I knew a lot of songs. Maybe I had just a good memory of being able to hear something once and retain it. I don't know. Yeah. But it was the Beatles.
Speaking of the Beatles, obviously profound influence on both of you. But James, how did Stackridge connect with George Martin?
Yeah, how amazing was that? Well, what happened was we started playing lots of gigs in and around London, and George had two children at that time, Alexis and Greg, and they just sort of came to a couple of our gigs and they were really taken with the band. And so whenever we played in London or anywhere near London, Alexis and Greg would come along. And so obviously they mentioned it to their dad. There's this great new sort of alternative band on the circuit. You should have a listen to them. And it so happened that at that same time, our manager went to work for George Martin's new production company. And so he would bump into George in the office, and he said he had the courage one day to say, "Hey, George, Stackridge are going to record a new album and they really need some great production. Would you fancy listening to their demos?" And so because his children had said, Stackridge are a band to listen to, he listened to the demos and he really loved it. And he said, "Yeah, let's do an album." So it was like a dream come true. We just couldn't believe it.
Unreal. Yeah. And it's amazing how stuff like that, and again, we go back to a lot of our guests from the 60s that we've talked to on the show, and it's amazing how just happenstance and being placed in the right time, and somebody knows somebody, it turns out to be related to somebody, and you don't hear stories like that anymore. I mean, we've talked to so many bands who had the tape in their hand and walked right into a major label and said, "Hey, I'd like you to listen to this," and they listened to it, loved it, signed them. Doesn't happen anymore.
Al, I think you need to walk into the offices of Sony and on the blue and red and said, "All right, you're signing us." That's it.
Yeah, it wouldn't work though, don't you? But yeah, it is sad that those days are gone, really. But I think the thing about luck is when luck comes your way, you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And you still have to be good. But when that opportunity arrives and people go, "Actually, I do like what you're doing." If you're rubbish, it doesn't matter how many famous people you bump into that might have been helpful. They're going to listen to it and go, "No, it isn't any good." Yeah. Sorry. So you have to be ready. You know,
It's absolutely true. I mean, you have to be able to back it up.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could get through the door in the first place was it's just amazing. Yeah, he's in his office. Go hand him the tape.
James, who is Smegmakovic?
Oh, Smegmakovic. Smegmakovic. That was an in joke. An in joke. Yeah, yeah.
I always want to know who was it.
Yeah. So it was me and two of the other guys in the band. We were the sort of writing lyric sort of team in the band, and just for a laugh, we thought we should have a sort of fancy name, not just our ordinary surnames. Why don't we have a sort of Russian-sounding name? So one of the guys came up with the idea of Smegmakovic,
I'm
which
not
is
even going to
slightly rude, I think, in the UK. But
I won't even go there in regard to the first part of that name. But we'll leave that alone.
Yes.
All right. So what was the story? Did you end up leaving Stackridge after A Man in the Bowler Hat, and then reconnected with Andy a few years later and deciding to do the Korgis?
Well, what happened was, by the time we got to record The Man in the Bowler Hat, we'd actually been together as a band for about 5 years, and we'd been doing gigs constantly. So it was like being married to 4 other guys. And so in every marriage, you just get fed up of each other. So even though we just worked with George Martin, which was a dream come true, you know, the band was already sort of splitting into different kind of teams and fragments, you know, and Andy and a couple of the other guys just said, you know, James, we just can't continue working together. You know, we have such different ideas, and that's how it was at that particular time. You know, so they said, you know, we're going to carry on. You know, you do your own thing or something. You know, so that's what happened. But then, you know, 2 or 3 years later, we've gotten over it, and you know, gotten a bit more mature as people, and Andy and I just sort of met in a local pub and said, well, you know, let's try something new, let's do something different, and that was the birth of the Korgis.
And here's the first album, and you still had different ideas, although on the cover you look like brothers. At first I thought you were.
Yeah, people do make that mistake. Yeah.
That was your big
I think it's a good image. I thought that was a really good image, that cover.
I do love that. How did you end up being signed to Warner Brothers?
Well, in England, we weren't signed to Warner's. We were signed to this small independent label called Rialto.
Right.
And it was 2 guys who used to work for EMI Publishing in the UK, and they had lots of contacts. And so they signed us. They set up this new independent label called Rialto, and they liked our demos. So we were their first signing, and we were very lucky to have a UK hit with a song called "If I Had You," which didn't make it anywhere else.
Absolutely gorgeous
song.
Gorgeous
song. I agree. Yeah, written by Andy, my partner. Yeah, and anyway, so that was the start of it. And it was only when we did Everybody's Got to Learn Sometime that people in the States began to listen to it, record companies in the States, I mean. And it was Warner's in the States who said, yeah, you know, this is a great track. You know, we can do something with this. So that's how it came about.
Although the second album is on Asylum in the States.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, I mean, that was
there are all sorts of strange goings on. Yeah.
I imagine.
Well, wasn't WEA Warner's Elektra and Asylum? So there must have been some amalgamation.
That's right. Yeah.
They moved you guys over to what had been their songwriting arm, Asylum.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
And you were a pop band, so it was interesting. I remember seeing that and thinking, oh, have they changed their sound? But to something more songwritery, but clearly not. So I was very happy about it, of course.
And you know what was the origin of the name? We've been kicking around the pronunciation here for the last half an hour, but because we've heard David for a long time had it as Korgis, of course Korgis, and I've heard Korgis, I've heard all kinds of things. But what was the original idea behind that name and the spelling?
Okay. Well, what it was just, there is an obscure breed of dog which I think we only get in Wales and England, called a Corgi. And the sort of joke for us was that the royal family in the UK, the Queen as it was then, was well known for having a little team of corgis that she would sort of, walk around, on public occasions with. And when we were trying to think of a new name for the band, we thought, well, first of all, let's have a one-word name, because that would be a lot easier for people to remember. And so we went through a list of about 50 different ideas. But then we thought, how about the Korgis? Because that's such a quintessentially sort of British dog, that people, and we were only thinking, you see, of England at the time. We didn't think we'd get any kind of interest anywhere else. So we thought, that would go down well in England. Let's call ourselves the Korgis. But let's spell it with a K. The Corgi dog is spelt with a C. Right. Let's spell it with a K, we said, because there's not many bands that begin with the letter K, so that might be better for us. So that was the start of it. But whenever we go to Europe,
whole thing, didn't it? That started a whole series of Cartoon World, cool hits, everything with the K.
Hits,
If the Kinks can do it, you guys can do it too.
That's right. Craft work as well. Yeah.
Did the Korgis back in the day tour the States, especially after Everybody's Got to Learn Sometime was a hit?
Oh, if only we did. I really wish we did, but we didn't.
Never did, huh? Wow.
No.
Never even toured the UK.
We didn't even tour the UK. We were mad. We just had this idea that we just needed to be a kind of very secretive kind of studio band that just came out with singles and the occasional album, but we wanted to remain mysterious. But if you start having hits, that's a bad mistake. Yeah.
I just want to say before I forget, thank you so much for If It's All Right With You, Baby. It is one of truly my all-time favorite songs.
Really?
Has been since the first time I heard it, and always will be.
Wow.
So thank you for the absolute
amazing
song.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hey, Al, what was your music history? How did you were you in bands prior to the Korgis?
Yeah, I was in a lot of different bands. I was born in Australia, but even when we were kids, I remember doing my first gig at age 8, where I sang harmonies for All My Lovin' with my brother playing guitar. And then we had this little band in Australia. So when I was about 11, or when I was 10, my mum died, and my dad decided to move back to Scotland, which is where he was from. So I did all my secondary school in the Isle of Skye in Scotland, except I didn't do very much school. I actually just wandered around the place playing guitar all the time. Me and my bunch of mates who'd grown our hair long. Headmaster hated us. And so when I got the first possible opportunity to leave school, I did. My birthday fell right in the summer holidays because I could leave school when I was 15. And I did. I went down to Sheffield. I got a job as a lighting engineer in a big cabaret club there. So I was working with Cliff. Well, you wouldn't. Yeah, you don't know Cliff Richard as much as people like Jack Jones, the Four Tops, the Drifters, 3 Degrees.
Wow.
All of those people. I was working lights for them all, and so I'm watching them all the time and just looking at how great some of these people were. And we formed a band with some mates from there, and I'm still mates, with a lot of these people that worked at that club now. But we formed a band, and then I just went through a whole string of bands, gradually just increasing my musical knowledge. I didn't really read music at the time. I taught myself. I could read sort of on the piano, but I taught myself to read on the guitar, and just got a little bit more involved in the technical side of how the nuts and bolts of music really works. I worked in a million bands, and it was by a strange coincidence that I got a call from the Korgis, because Andy, as I said before, Andy had just decided he didn't want to do those dates. And they had a bass player in the band at the time called Dave Goodyear. Dave Goodyear is Jethro Tull's bass player now. But he was a friend of mine because he'd done a million gigs as well. And he just said, Al, you need Al Steele. He's the man. He'll come in and just do it. And so after a few discussions with James, I remember he wrote me a letter, because this was way predating email. And he wrote me a letter, and he said, let's talk about some really important things. Let's get some things straight. what's your favorite Kink song? Was his first question, or something like that. Eventually said, I suppose we should talk about what you're going to do in the band. And so we did those dates. It was great, fantastic. And really, but we only did 3 or 4 dates, something like that. And we just kept in touch over the time. It was just, I went and did several other things. I think in the meantime, in that hiatus, when James went back and Stackridge were gigging again, I became more serious about music. I'd started to kind of write little things for orchestra, or either I was dabbling about with virtual orchestras at home, a bit like Trevor Horn was really. Trevor Horn, when he did his Buggles, was his second album. He dabbled about with a virtual orchestra at home, or with synths. And so I started to write things, and I just thought, it would be so much better if I actually learned how to do it properly. And I bought myself a book on orchestration. I bought myself a book on orchestral harmony, and I just read them. I went through loads of musical scores and all that sort of stuff. And so I taught myself how to orchestrate. Wow. Opened a recording studio that we record all our stuff in around the year 2000. And right from the very get-go, I was encouraging people, saying, why don't we use real strings? Why don't we use real woodwinds? Why don't we get brass players in? Absolutely. And so, I just got better at it as we went along. And eventually then we get back to 2017, where James and I got back together.
I wish Trevor Horn had stayed with the formula for the first album, but that's just me. James, my favorite Kink song is Shangri-La. Would you have invited me into the band?
Oh, good question.
Well, that's a good choice. It's a good choice.
Of course, I can't play anything. But.
Yeah, David doesn't play an instrument, but that's besides the point. He's got the song down.
Let's play another song from the new album.
Let's hear one. Yeah.
And, in the spirit of cheekiness, we've got a very cheeky title here, of course. Good Old Days of the Cold War by the Korgis. Here we go.
I love this track.
Take a few in the wilderness. The bear is sleeping still. The creeping rise of democracy has been a bitter pill. In my youth days with sunny tanks and guns and lots of money. Let's get back to the good old days of the Cold War. When you never knew who was sleeping under your bed. This one's gonna be so much better than the old war. This time we're really gonna paint the town red. Let's get back to the good old days of the Cold War. Gonna roll up our sleeves like we did with JFK. This one's gonna be so much better, gonna snowball. We're gonna get the old gang back. Hey, what do you say? Even as a boy, I would march like a soldier to Red Square to make my master plan. Now, as a man, takes me the Red Army away from my command. Though it's true I was born smaller, history will make me taller and taller and taller. Let's get back to the good old days of the Cold War. When you never knew who was sleeping under your bed. This one's gonna be so much better than the old war. This time we're really gonna paint the town red. The bomb looked big in there.
Man, is that good.
That's my favorite song on the album. Has such, 10cc is another big favorite band of mine, and
Yep.
I hear a lot of influence. I don't know if that was by design or you just have similar. You and those guys had similar influences, which is what I think it is. But
yeah, I think we did, really, didn't we? I mean, we're big 10cc fans as well, but I mean, they were fans of the Beatles. You could hear it in their music, and that classic sound that they produced. So we all came from the same, the same mix of ingredients, really.
Yeah, but one thing you got, I mean, in the early days, in Stackridge, in the early days of the Korgis, and even now, one thing you guys are very good at doing is evoking images of past, of just, past history and the environment that was extant in the day and bringing it to modern times. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, and the layering. I mean, talk about just briefly the genesis of that track, and how it probably evolved. I don't know whether you started that on piano or guitar with the
I think
the layering.
It was probably me, wasn't it? I think it was one of the very first things that we wrote of new material after Cartoon World. We always knew that we would do new material, but I'm the sort of person that I just write little bits and then leave them lying around. And I know that what I don't want to do is I don't want to have a little bit and I think this would be really good for the Korgis and then finish it off. So I just leave it lying around and I think, okay, that's something I'm going to get James involved or John involved and we'll work on it at some point. And I had that chorus and it was piano and the idea was like it was Paul McCartney thumping away on a piano and it's just, there's no subtlety in it. It just goes dun, 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 all the way through. So we sat on it for ages. But I remember we were doing Mike Reed's Heritage Chart Show. We were actually down filming with him. And I played it to you downstairs. And I think everyone went, wow, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, we should do something with that at some point.
Yeah.
Probably 7 or 8 months later, James and I got together, didn't we? And we worked on the verse for it and everything. Which I think, like pretty much everything we do, I reckon that verse probably took 20 minutes, something like that. Most things take 10 or 20 minutes.
And then are you in the studio hacking through it, so to speak, and say, let's throw this in there. Let's throw these little, Yellow Submarine-ish kind of voices in here. And that you probably saw my eyes that when that high vocal comes in at that one part and just gets all the way up to that really high note, and it only happens at one time. It's that's just that's stuff that makes my skin just kind of go, oh wow, what a great idea that was, and it's very cool how that stuff's put together, and you do.
I think we just write things that makes us that we feel is right, and certainly I know James would agree with me here. A middle eight in a song is a time where you go sideways with it. You don't want to do the same thing. You want to go sideways with it. And that's usually the end of the middle eight is often the high point in the song. And that's no exception. And that one, I think I just wrote that lyric, I can see for miles and miles and miles. Obviously, it's a Who quote, and I just thought that was funny. We could get a Who quote in and then we'll put all these harmonies on it. And that'll be the loudest bit, It just kind of seemed to be right. And when you sort of talk about the voices and little things, those voices, the little Yellow Submarine voices weren't there at first. They were just one of the many layers that James and I would add as we went through it. And James would go, I've got an idea. Let's put this on. I got an idea. I was right at the end, just before we were mixing it. He went, I want to redo the bass. I've got an idea for the bass. And he came up with all those boom, boom, ba-doo, 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 kind of lines, which just kind of made me smirk as well. So it's it's all good.
Just for mentioning this, I know we put the graphic up. There's going to be it's essentially a double album coming out in two different time periods. Right now, it's Ununited Nations. It's the blue side.
We just call it Ununited Nations Blue. We call it the Blue album. The next one will be the Red album,
which is going to be the Red album. But It can be found at. Can people order it at thekorgis.com?
Korgis.com. Yeah, thekorgis.com.
Yeah.
And other Amazon, all the normal places. Can you find it?
Not doing it on the normal places. They have to get it from us. Thekorgis.com.
So right along the bottom of the screen, scrolling, it says thekorgis.com. If you're digging everything you're hearing tonight, that's where you go. That's where you order it. It's CD and vinyl?
It's CD. The vinyl is on order. The vinyl will be like another 4 or 5 weeks or something before we see it. Who knows? Vinyl is always a bit like, who knows how long the vinyl is going to take these days. But time changes all the time with that.
But there you got to get it from thekorgis.com. You heard it right here on Material Issues. You can't say, well, I'll pick it up on Amazon later on. No. Thekorgis.com.
Is the Red album going to be in any way different from the Blue? Or
The Red album is a continuation. The whole thing is one work, really. What we should say is that every track on the album has a location. Every track is set somewhere. Like Mud Huts is set in Rome, ancient Rome. Sex on Saturday is set in Germany, Berlin to be precise. One Way Ticket is set in Memphis, essentially on the day Martin Luther King is killed. What comes after that? Good old days of the Cold War, of course, is centered. Well, it's got 2 centers, that has, but I put the center as Moscow because that's where Putin obviously is. But the voice that comes in the middle, which is actually me singing that little voice, that's actually Trump. That is, that's Trump having a little conversation with Putin because they talk all the time on the phone. You know, how are we going to sort this out, Vlad? Oh, I don't know, Donald. What do you think?
So it's all location based. So you're telling me that there's clues in there that somebody could actually find a golden CD.
Yeah. All those lines on the globe stretching from one to another.
I know.
The green line is an outline. The red line comes back and goes somewhere else. There's another green line goes somewhere else.
You've buried unreleased Korgis material somewhere.
There's a contest right there. Whoever is able to identify the location gets some kind of prize. If they have to get them all, though.
But if you start off at thekorgis.com, first of all, that's where you got to get it. So
that's where you get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody knows that.
What drives you guys these days? I mean, to do a double album in this day and age is so ambitious. What drives you now?
I think the problem is that once we sort of sit down with a piano and a guitar and you know, we say, let's try and think of something new, we just have so many ideas that, you know, that one song or even one album's worth of song fragments isn't going to do it. You know, we want to keep going, you know, so we keep on going up with new ideas. And it's just the fun of it. Yeah, just the fun of it.
That's wonderful that you're still having fun doing this.
I think it's what we've done all our lives, isn't it? It's like we just written songs and released an album, written songs, you know. We still actually enjoy the process of it. It's the most fun that you can have, really, in the studio, seeing things come to life and going, hang on, I have another idea. We can make it even better than it was. So, you know, when you listen to any of those songs, you listen in the background and there's so many little things going on that you might not get at first. Some of you probably won't get until you've heard it 150 times and you go, I never noticed that before. Actually, my missus said the other day, she said, I didn't realize you were saying putting it about.
Which one of your staff members is that again?
That's one of my female staff members. Yeah, she resides in the kitchen often.
But that's the beauty of the work and this new music is, again, like you said, you can listen to it 150 times and I love when that happens. You go, wait, I never heard that little piece before, and that's great. That's just that's a treasure in and of itself. That's the treasure hunt right there. Fantastic.
Yeah. Let's
as if to whet your appetites even more, the vinyl mixes are very slightly different. The vinyl mixes have been remixed, and every now and then there's something that maybe didn't quite make it on the CD mix that you hear a bit more on the vinyl mix. And it's a different balance. I mean, it's a different process putting stuff on vinyl. So it's just been retweaked EQ wise, as well as a lot of the compression's been taken off it. So they sound much more kind of big and open. They sound a bit quieter, but they're a bit more big and open. You know,
Nice.
so anyone sitting on the fence, just order the vinyl.
I'm pretty sure I ordered the whole package, so I'm waiting for it all.
Yeah, I think you did, David.
Here's another track. Let's play that, and then we'll bid you a fond adieu, and thank you for joining us. Here's a track from the new album called Prison Break. Check it out.
Uh-huh.
Break away, don't waste the day. I can't help but laugh about the world and its ways. These walls you see can't confine me. I salute the world each morning with middle finger raised. It's been too long, feeling headstrong, we'll be long gone. Wait for the signal and meet in the dark corridor when the lights go out. The sleeping guard set of keys, 'cause we're breaking out. Down the ropes and we'll jump together. You can't cage these birds forever. Creep down toward the emergency escape. Stop the fire, cut the wire, it's a prison break. You can't stop this river running. You can't stop the spring from coming. Defeat the rock, back on the block. Every detail planned with the precision of a clock. A brand new song comes with the dawn. New heroes of the underworld, Clarence, Frank, and John. I hope we make it, the fuse has been lit. It's time to commit, so wait for the signal and meet in the dark corridor when the lights go out. Sleeping guard set of keys, 'cause we're breaking out. Down the ropes and we'll jump together. You can't cage these birds forever. Creep down toward the emergency escape. Stop the fire, cut the wire, it's a prison break. You can't stop this river running. You can't stop the spring from coming. It's the time for action. Is it time to take a bow? So let's get ready for deliverance. Stay till you see the seventh wave. Step up and seize the day. The stars collide and light the way for us. Meet in the dark corridor when the lights go out. Sleeping guard set of keys, 'cause we're breaking out. We'll be on all the news wires. Sound the flares, the screech of tires. Creep down toward the emergency escape. Stop the fire, cut the wire, it's a prison break. You can't stop this river running. You can't stop the spring from coming. The positives were so short-lived. The raft we built from hope and sweat was leaking like a sieve. The storm rose up like a hungry pup. All around is sea and sky. Could the game be up? Are we lost? Are we
You know, when I first saw the title, I expected something along the lines of Rubber Bullets, which is another song we couldn't.
It's not a great song.
Get in the U.S. And then you roll out this ballad, and I'm thinking, oh boy, well this isn't what I expected. And then of course the chorus comes, and here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that song is marked by so many tempo changes.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw everything but the kitchen sink, as they say, at us in that one, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's very proggy.
Well, that song makes me want to go back to 1976 in my bedroom with my big headphones on and the curly Q cord, and I used to just sit back and I've brought this up before. David knows he's a big fan as well. But our 70s band Klaatu, their music just took me away, and that's the same kind of thing. I want to just get my headphones on and just let the Korgis take me away, man. Good stuff.
Hey, did you get the location? It's really Escape from Alcatraz. That's what the prison break is all about. Alcatraz.
Clarence, Frank, and John, the three people who might have escaped from Alcatraz, but they were never found, presumed drowned, but maybe not.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll let you into a little secret. We actually catch up with them on the Red album. We find out what really happened to them.
Good. Nice. And when's the Red album projected to come
June,
out?
we reckon. We've written all the songs, but we're just kind of working on them, working through, just making sure that the production's as good as this one, getting them all up to scratch.
Give the Blue album some air. Let it breathe and live for a little bit. Make us hungry for the next one. So the Korgis.com, that's the only place you can get it. And A, the CD, B, the vinyl mixes are a little different. So you gotta get the whole package. Fantastic, guys. Just a great work. And
it really is. And
really a thrill to talk to you here in Material Issues.
Very grateful that you guys are still doing what you do. And
we're grateful people still want to listen to it.
Oh yeah.
Guarantee as people watch this episode, we have a very power pop-ish, prog pop type community that watches everything here.
Right.
Guaranteed they're going to be not only looking at the new ununited nations, blue and then red, but this is going to take people down a road of everything. Korgis related. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of music that many people may not be familiar with outside of, obviously the huge track. But Tim just said it. Fantastic. Thank you, and Eddie.
You're welcome.
Great stuff.
Definitely. Beyond the new stuff, definitely look for the 3 albums from back in the day. If you don't own those, you are missing out. Let me tell you.
Big time. Well, we thank you guys so much for being on the program. Best of luck with the ununited nations. I want to pop this back up so everybody sees it again. Blue, and then coming later in the year, the Red album as well. So
hopefully you get several orders, and you'll know, because the only place you can get them is the Korgis.com.
That's right. Yeah. And I'd just like to say that this time round, if anyone in the States wants us to come and do gigs, this time we're going to come over and do them.
Oh, my God.
We'd love to.
Wouldn't that be something?
I will.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, indeed. We'll try our best to make it happen.
One right there.
Yeah. That'd be great.
There you go. Keith's already ordering. Remember, Keith, get the CD and the vinyl. You're gonna.
Oh, fantastic.
Keith's already ordering it. So good stuff. Well, guys, have a wonderful 2024. Best of luck with everything, and keep doing what you're doing, because we can tell you enjoy the music, you enjoy creating, and you're so good at it. And these are 2 guys right here, David and myself, who greatly appreciate what you do.
And you're nice people. We love that.
Well, that was a
try.
That was a bonus. That was a bonus. Have a great night, guys. Thank you again. The Korgis.com, the Korgis here from Material Issues, an absolute honor. Have a good one, guys.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
you,
David. Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Speak again.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Holy cow.
That was
David.
a lot of fun.
David, that was just a lot of fun. Holy cow. And you know what? We should just I enjoyed listening to those tracks so much live here with them. I think when the Red album comes out, we get them back on here again.
I'm totally up.
And we talk with them about the Red album later in the summer. I think that'll be a deal. I see one of Al's staff members just walked in the room. So he's probably there. There's one of his staff members walked in the room.
Hello, staff member, aka wife. Are you a perfect hostess, a modern wife? I know you weren't there yet for that one, Al, but maybe you could play it in my honor one day.
What a wonderful interview. Two great guys, and they continue. This new album is fantastic. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just so good, and I want everybody to hear it. I want everybody to go out there and support them and buy it. And then we've got a Red album to look forward to in the summer. So holy cow, good one, good one. Yeah. We got a lot of things going on too. We got more stuff coming up. If you think this show was great, it keeps going.
It does indeed. Where are we right now? Oh yes, we're on the 24th today. Next week, we have a duo whose music was who's also 70s music was unearthed recently, and not that way. Peach and Lee. A duo who recorded in the early to mid actually in the 60s as well. And the great label Reminder Records unearthed it. This is Peach and Lee, Not for Sale, 1965 to 1975.
Wow.
2 discs of wonderful Badfinger Beatlesque pop, just amazing stuff. And we're going to have Arliss Peach and Larry Lee as our guests next week, and hopefully we get a CD out of this as well. But hey, we're happy to have the vinyl. Big shout out to Jeremy Thompson and Reminder Records for doing this. What do we have on the 14th? We have a power pop icon who has a new album coming out on Gem Records, and he's the great Paul Collins of the Nerves and the Beat, of course, and has been a solo act for quite a while and has been putting out some good stuff. I think this new record is the best that I've heard from him in a while. Coming up on the 21st, it's Magic, and that was a directed pun because we're going to have the main man of the band who did that song, a Pilot. We're going to have Mr. David Payton on Material Issues.
How cool is that? Yeah.
February 21st, Wednesday. Yes, very, very cool. Very nice guy. To get all the Korgis out. Oh, the earlier ones. I don't think there's a direct place. You
just said Korgis again.
I did? Oh God! Well, because he was talking about the old ones, I flipped back into my youth, I guess.
I found the old ones out on eBay. That's probably your best bet.
eBay, Discogs,
Discogs,
the usual place that geeks like us go. Yeah.
But as we said, the brand new stuff is only available at the Korgis.com. Real simple, thekorgis.com. And yeah, grab different mixes on the vinyl. So grab the CD and the vinyl.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that
package.
Sure.
Yeah, the package. But
kind of like when we had the Criers on, and we had Lowry Hamner on, and he told me that the picture disc of the Criers album had totally different mixes, which I had no idea about. And then I played it and was like, wow, these are way different.
Yeah,
I mean, they were almost different. They were almost different songs. It was really something. So I love when bands do that. But anyway, on the 21st of February, we will have Mr. David Payton of Pilot, who Pilot had 4 wonderful albums. And a lot of people don't know about the 4th one, just the 2 of us. I'm trying to remember which member had left the band at that point. So it was only 2 instead of the 3 main guys. But what a great record that was also. So,
well, and his history is going to be fun to talk to him about his history.
Oh, yeah.
everything prior to Pilot as well. So could be great. I mean, we
got a lot of great guests, and we'll
up.
have more. The 7th of February is still open, so maybe that will be one where we start talking, where we shoot the breeze, do a stump the bash, or whatever.
Something we might eat grilled shrimp Doritos.
No, you might. I won't be going there, but I will. I maybe, there may be a new chip to sample at that point. We'll you never know with us, right?
And we do have some people we're talking to also to fill in some gaps here and there, but you never know here at Material Issues. That's why you've got to subscribe here on Facebook or join the group. Subscribe over on Material Issues. It's all free on YouTube, and then we always let you know a day or two before who's coming on the show.
And we apologize for sometimes having to move the date or the times, but different people's schedules require that.
Yep.
And so we're happy that you hang in with us, and you cut us some slack with that. So thank you.
It's all good. But so stay in touch. We've got fantastic things coming up, and we keep adding more. So this is just a blast. This is episode number 139. And right there, that could be someone right now saying, yes, I'll be on the show.
Actually, it's a former Material Issues guest, my dad.
There you go. See, he wants to be back on the show again. He's got so much going on himself. So
he says he has a gold album coming out in June, and he wants to talk about it.
That was a lot of fun, David. Once again, great gets, and they were a lot of fun, and that's great music. So Korgis.com, go get it.
Indeed.
Join us again next week, Peach and Lee, Wednesday.
At the regular time.
Episode 100.
3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock UK.
Yeah.
And for the foreseeable future, we'll be at that time. And if we're not, we'll certainly give you enough notice. So. And
I'll tell you what, if you're just tuning in and you missed the earlier start to this great live show tonight, check it out in the archives, Facebook and YouTube. You're going to hear some great music, great brand new music from the Korgis, and you're going to love it. So that's a beautiful thing about the archives. You can go back and watch all 139 shows and discover some great stuff, just like
Absolutely.
We did today. Yeah.
All right, Mark. Well, another fun one, and have a great rest of the week. Love to Ches, love to Hannah and Leah.
Love to Rena, love to Ardeen Taylor.
Ardeen Taylor. There's wow. I meant to. I didn't know that the song title was underneath the big Northern Soul hit.
Yeah, look at that. I love the profile over there.
The interesting thing about that song, Ardeen Taylor was a house writer for Motown. Even though he was a white man from Canada, he was writing the soul hits. I believe he co-wrote Love Child and I'm Living in Shame for the Supremes, among others. But he was recording there as well. And he recorded There's a Ghost in My House, I believe, in 1967. And it was on the VIP label, which was a Motown subsidiary that the Spinners had been on, actually, at that time as well. I don't know if it ever got a stock release, but I have a promo copy of it, or at least I think I do. That came out back then. Well, it languished in obscurity until the Northern Soul movement in the UK of the early 70s. And for those of you who don't know, Northern Soul is called that because it originated in the north of England, or the movement did, and it really showcased a lot of great soul sounds, not just the usual Motown fare, but some real obscure things as well. And the DJs who were at the clubs up in the north of England would always compete with each other to resurrect some of the best tracks that nobody had ever heard. They would go to the States, they buy collections, and it became just a real competition. And not just with the DJs, but the people at the clubs representing. Well, anyway, one of the songs that was found, as it were, was There's a Ghost in My House by Ardeen Taylor, and it caused such a furor that it actually hit the top 5 in the UK in 1973. 6 years after it had been released. So quite an amazing story about that particular song. I mean, everybody in the States and in the UK and Canada knows Indiana Wants Me. That was his one big hit in the US. But people don't necessarily know about There's a Ghost in My House, which is much more Motown-y than Indiana Wants Me is not at all.
No.
But There's a Ghost in My House, you would know it was Motown just by the sound. So yeah, Ardeen Taylor has a really wonderful history. Has he passed on?
I believe so, because you know how I look at these, and sometimes I start doing deep dives and see if I can find these people to get them on the show. I believe Ardeen Taylor is.
Yeah, he would be somebody we would definitely want on the show if not.
There was a reason why I did. There was some reason why
I'm going to go. As we speak, I'm going to go over to
check it out.
Wikipedia and see if he's.
Yeah. But I had to have such a cool T-shirt.
Yeah, unfortunately, he has passed on.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'm not sure what year. Actually, we could have had him, Mark. He passed on in 2022.
That might have been it. I think I might have had contact with him, and he wasn't. Yeah, that it's coming back to me a little bit. He wasn't doing well, wasn't feeling well, something, and I just kind of said, okay, I'll revisit this, and then I didn't, and it is what
it happens, unfortunately. But yeah, that is an awesome shirt.
That's great.
Where'd you pick that up?
This is this company is out of the UK, and I get a lot of the.
Sure.
It's Mr. B's Soulful Teas.
Oh yeah.
And he does this. Well, this company, I call him he, but they do so many great shirts.
I'm writing this down for sure.
They you'll love. I mean, that's where I got the Help Me Rhonda shirt. They just there's tons of Northern Soul based shirts. Mr. B's. I just want to type it in here, make sure I get it right. Mr. B's Soulful Teas. I think that's all you can do. Mr. B's, as in B''S.
Right.
Soulful Teas. There you go, Mr. B's. If you get a lot of orders that seem to be coming from musical people, everybody tell Mr. B you saw it here, Material Issues, and he can send us a whole line of t-shirts.
But that is with the profile of Ardeen and There's a Ghost in My House. Yeah, the only other thing they could have done is put the label on, but maybe there was a rights issue with that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But,
and they're nice shirts because and here's the secret. If you're ordering from Mr. B's, order one size larger than you normally would. Okay. I don't know what it is about UK t-shirts and whatever, but they come a little smaller. Yeah. So one size larger. And I like them because it's not that plasticky kind of, this is kind of all part of the shirt. There's nothing.
Oh, nice.
Nothing weird about it. It's right. All nice screen printed.
Yeah.
Great exactly. Quality too. The shirts are high quality.
Nice.
I love it.
All right. Awesome. Anyway, thank you all very much for hanging in with us. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. And hopefully we see you next week for some amazing music courtesy of Peach and Lee. Take care. Take care, everyone.
Have a great night.